H Weekly editorial, where we go beneath the surface of the wondrous world of Harry Potter and try to get underneath the headlines, the assumptions, and the parts of the story people think they already know.
I'm Rita.
And I'm Betty.
And we're so thrilled to have you join our weekly broadcast.
And today we are doing a deep dive into Ronald Weasley. I really, really hope that does not come off as shrill to the listener as it sounds in the movie with the howler.
It's pretty shrill. I think that's the point.
Yeah, well, don't come at me. Sorry for ruining your audio. I really feel like Ron is such an overlooked part of the trio. I mean, for the people who have watched only the movies and not read the books, but it's just, justice for Ron.
Yeah, I think there's a whole Justice for Ron campaign that needs to happen because I think a lot of his personality kind of gets, sort of washed down or watered down. A lot of his roles and responsibilities are reallocated to different people.
Hermione
especially. And then I think in the movies, he just kind of comes off as like a
bumbling, bimbling band of buffoons.
Yeah, so just someone that they forgot is still there. So when he does the Deluminator thing in the tent where he says, "Oh, you forgot."
Oh yeah, forgot about me. I'm still here.
Yeah, forgot about me. I'm still here.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I feel like that hits really differently in the movies because it's like, oh, well, what were you even doing to begin with, right?
It's not like he's really bringing anything.
Yeah. So it's just a bit strange. But I think that in the books, I think he's obviously an integral part of the trio. I think he's the one that I think brings a lot of balance. And I think a lot of his qualities are hard to define because they're very intangible. Because you can say Harry's obviously Harry, the main character, and then Hermione's sort of the brains and knows everything and has all the, the technical know-how. But I think it's Ron's intangible qualities that gives Harry the strength and binds the three of them together, without which they can't be successful. I think it goes to a lot of what Dumbledore says, that's beyond
your hot head versus your good heart or whatever. Yeah,
it's more than that though. It's more just the qualities that Dumbledore tries to teach Harry to value that are all very intangible, like love and friendship. And I think
of this Voldemort knows nothing.
Yeah, and so it's more how does without Ron, a lot of that doesn't exist for Harry. And so I think he's this invisible or intangible thing for Harry that makes him be a better person, and that binds the trio together, right? There's lots of examples like that where even if we even from the very beginning, I think without Ron, Harry doesn't have that introduction to having a true family or whatever. So I think that's where Ron's value really comes in, and then we see a lot of that throughout the books as the story progresses.
For sure. I think without Ron, Harry almost ends up like a quasi Neville, right? Because Neville is there, and not to say that
you mean by himself, alone.
Yeah, he ends up a little bit more isolated. I think what Ron brings, and this happens right away when you meet him, right? And I'm very excited for the show to be doing this. From the trailer, it looks the way that they're doing some of those shots in the trailer of the show looks so amazing, where you have Harry just sitting on the train, and he's watching this family of people who are so excited, and Ginny's oh, I want to go with everybody too, and there's this whole sense of a very full, happy home life, and Harry has always lacked that. And I think right away where we finally meet Ron is obviously he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder with his brothers, and then obviously with his
even that chip on his shoulder, though, I think it's a complex in his own head, because I don't actually think his parents ever treated him differently.
No.
They're just as excited to drop him off to school. They're just as excited to,
And Ginny is just as sad that he's leaving.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Presumably they're very close.
They're very close, because
right?
they're only 1 year apart.
Yeah.
But I think Ron obviously has always had a little bit of that. Obviously the Weasleys are so poor, and Ron really has nothing, quote unquote, material to offer to this new friendship, because like right away he's like, oh, they couldn't afford or whatever, and he's like, oh, I've already got food, I've got these sandwiches that I don't really like. And Harry's like, you know what, but like I want to share like eating all these sweets and like whatever. And so like right away you get this very real feeling of bonding and friendship that like I don't think anybody else really can do the same way that Ron does for Harry. And like, and it's because of the way that the movies are done, it's so easy to forget that like Harry and Hermione are both total outsiders in this world, right? They don't know any of they don't know any of like the pop culture or the books or the stories or the slurs and the history, right? And Ron and his family are the ones that really bring them into the world and into understanding what all of that means. And I think Ron is really that bridge that helps, like the same way that you can think of like the train is the bridge that connects Harry from the Muggle world to the Wizarding world. It's the like there's a reason you meet Ron on the train, right? Ron also is that like emotional bridge between both worlds.
Yeah, and I think like that's one of the big things that they take away from Ron in the movies, where it's like, you know, he's supposed to be like this conduit for Harry and even Hermione by extension. Like Hermione knows a lot of things, but like she doesn't understand like the fundamental things about the Wizarding universe. Like in the movies, like we'll talk about this when we go in deeper, but there's so many things that like there's no way for her to know. And I think sometimes I feel like they don't do that justice in the movies, which I really hope they fix in the show.
Yeah, but like honestly, the casting for him looks so perfect in this show. Like he's adorable.
Yeah, he's perfect.
And like just that little scene on the train where he does the, "Are you really Harry Potter?" And then Dominic does the little nod and he goes with his like little forehead thing. It's so cute.
It's really cute.
I'm so excited to see like. And honestly, when the movies were originally coming out, the books weren't all written, so they didn't know
have the full context.
Yeah, you didn't have the full context of like what seeds, what nuggets, what Easter eggs were actually going to be like really plot relevant until much later. And now that the books are done, like 20 years ago now, which is kind of crazy. But now that you know the full scope and the context, I really hope that they do some of those things justice, because like there's so many things that I feel not just specific to Ron, but just like generally speaking with plot and whatnot that got skipped, or not even just plot. Bring back Peeves. That's, you know what, that's going to be a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I agree. I really do think that Ron is sort of like he's a little bit of like the heart of the three of them, and like without Ron, like Harry, like forget about like the family stuff, and like like Molly is very much a surrogate mother, and like forget about all of that, but just like Ron himself is just, Harry says this so many times, and like you really notice it when they're not talking to each other in like book 4 or book
I think it
7.
shows up in every book, right? Like I think, but I think at the same time it makes it difficult to like put your finger on, because it's not like
he's just a constant like presence.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's what makes him important, but also difficult to say like what is the actual thing that he does. But I think it's just like, to your point, it's like his like constant unwavering like support is not the right word. Presence is probably the right way of thinking about it, is what makes him so valuable. So like even like starting from the first book, like as we meet him right on the train, he is
just surrounded by all these people.
But I just mean like the Ron's presence is like felt right from the beginning. So the first time the Harry quote unquote truly would leave the Muggle world to become a part of the Wizarding world, the person that is always by his side is Ron. Yeah. Even before he meets everybody else, like Hermione, Dumbledore, all these other people are like secondary. Like the only person that's always with him.
Well, Hagrid.
Yeah, but Yes, but he's not.
But
on the
Hagrid,
train,
yeah, and
right? So,
Hagrid is like a he's more of like a guy. He's more like a shaman type figure,
yeah, like
to
Ron
guide
is his,
him.
like, true
Versus
companion. So,
Ron
like,
is like an actual
he's
like
on the
constantly
train
next to
with
him.
him. Like if we think about the first book, for example, there's so many examples. As soon as Draco and team like walk
Yeah.
in, like, you know, like Ron is there to like back up this kid he has never even met.
Yeah. And vice versa.
Yeah.
Vice versa, right? It's
Right.
like they have no real loyalty to each other. And they're
Exactly.
like immediately just gonna
they're
like
just gonna like
Yeah.
back each other up. So like that, there's something to be said for having friendship like that when you click. And like throughout the first book, like even when the freaking like the midnight duel, like Ron's like, I'm his second, who's yours? Like based on
Harry's like, what? Yeah, but this is exactly what I mean. He knows
Yeah.
he knows all the context. He knows the context.
And like he's like willing to back him up, right? So like there's lots of examples like how Ron's presence in Harry's life is so important. So there's that, and then like obviously the chess thing at the end of the book.
God,
So
I know.
like so stuff like that I think is like
Also, but like keep in mind, these are 3 11-year-olds, and they don't know, for all they know, they don't know what's gonna happen with all of this. They straight up think that they're about to go like kill themselves. They're like going on, in their view, like a like kind of a suicide mission for this. And like Ron and Hermione are like, they make that decision at the like very beginning, and they're like, we're with you till the end.
yeah,
right?
and then that comes up a lot, right? Like I think when we talk about the trio as a whole, like even I think Hermione says at the end there, she's like, oh, this was decided days ago, years,
Yeah.
really, right? Like at the end of like when they're finally going on their like final Horcrux mission or whatever in the
Yeah,
second
like
book.
after the funeral.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like I think Ron's support like shows up a lot during the books. Like obviously the first book, like we talked about, like if presumably he'd have to tell Molly about Harry not like having family and like won't get any Christmas presents, or like otherwise it's not like she's just gonna send him.
So sad.
You know? So like those things are never, you don't read it on paper, you don't ever
but you
actually
know it
see
happens.
it. You
Yeah.
know
And I'm
it
so excited for the show to
yeah, like you know it had to happen because like how else is Molly gonna know stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? So
Yeah.
it's like things like that is where you can feel Ron's presence
Yeah.
even if it's not described. So I
Yeah.
think it's very interesting it's interesting when people say, oh, like Ron is not important, but I feel like he's very important, but it's all very hard to pinpoint. Or like in the second book, I think you mentioned it earlier, was like he didn't get responses from Harry to his
I know.
letters.
He's like, you're not gonna ghost me. Nuh-uh.
And it just shows up with a flying car. Okay.
But even before that, right? Like they're such good friends for like 10 months.
Yeah.
And then Harry's like, oh, like maybe my friend's gonna like write to me, and like he calls him, and that goes like
Yeah.
a disaster.
Yeah.
But then he's like, oh, like maybe he had said like maybe I would come visit, and then like he just doesn't hear it. Oh, and obviously
Yeah.
that's Dobby's fault. But he's just so sad because he's like, oh, like maybe like our friendship didn't really mean anything to these other people, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like real depresso.
Yeah.
But then like Ron is like not having any of this.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Ron is like, you are not. I have spent 10 months with you. I'm gonna spend another 10 months like 3 feet away from you at all times, and that's not good enough for me.
Yeah.
You didn't respond to me for a month, and I'm just gonna kidnap you at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's lots of ways that I think he shows up for Harry in like this like silent way that you never actually you can't see or like know, but you can always feel it. And yeah, so and then yeah, I guess in the third book,
No, hold on. There's a lot more about Ron in book 2 that I feel like there's the problem that happens with Ron in the movies, I find, is that, and this is way more egregious in the later movies, where they just straight up take his lines and give them to Hermione.
That happens in the second movie a lot,
But
too.
it happens a lot in the second movie, right? Because, like...
In the first movie, there's not much to give away, to be honest.
And I do think that the first movie was probably the most true to page adaptation. And I don't really feel like there's much that they missed in the first one, but in the second one, like...
They missed, but they missed a bunch, but they didn't get things wrong.
And stuff. Yeah, they didn't get things like that wrong, right? Like in the second one, there are things that are just wrong, particularly related to Ron. And the big one that always sticks out to me is just the scene with the eat slugs Malfoy, right? Yeah. Because that really bothers me, because like in the book, like Hermione and Harry don't understand the historical context. Right. They don't understand what he has said, right? Because like you have this great scene where Hermione's like, you know, nobody had to buy their way in, whatever. And then obviously Malfoy calls her a mudblood, and then every single person who's on the Gryffindor side of that fight, the Oliver,
has a
the
reaction.
Twins, the Chasers, they all have an immediate visceral reaction. Right. And like I would have to double check the blood status of the Chasers because I don't know 100%. But they're all older, so they've been in the world for longer, so they have more of an understanding of historical context. But from like the younger years perspective, Harry and Hermione, like they can tell something rude has been said, but they don't understand like the
impact of it. They don't have the full impact,
right? Yeah. And Ron immediately is like, no, you're not talking to my chosen family this way. Yeah. And he goes at it right away, right? And then they take him to Hagrid's, and Hermione says, like, he called me I don't exactly know what he said, but I could tell it was rude.
Yeah.
And
they gave that one to Harry for some reason.
No, to Hermione. They gave it to Hermione.
No, it's Hermione in the books, but they gave it to Harry in
the movies. Yeah. And then Hermione's the one who answers in the movies. But it's Ron who somehow is able to stop his slug burping to say, like, to explain what it means. Yeah, and and that's when she understands. Like, obviously she's known about like a little bit of the prejudice, but that's when it really hits home about like the danger of
like the danger she's in.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's no way that Hermione would know that.
Yeah. And there's no way she can even understand the impact of it. Yes, because she comes into this world with like
bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, just excited to be there.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree. Like I think that's a big thing that they take away from him, and like throughout the movies, that's something that they take away from him, because his one of his big roles is to explain the uniqueness of the world, which they don't.
And I mean, part of it is to explain it to us as the audience, but also to the two of them who are like new.
And there's lots of instances like that. Like speaking of, I said earlier, like the third book is not important, but when they find out that like Lupin is a werewolf, it's the same kind of thing. Like Ron has this like it's like goes the other way, where he has like a prejudice against Lupin.
Even with Hagrid, actually, now that you mentioned that,
in book 4,
like, and Harry's like, why does that matter?
But he's less prejudiced. I think with Lupin, he's like, oh, get away from me, werewolf, or whatever.
Well, I wonder if part of that is because like there's the potential affiliation with Sirius versus he knows Hagrid is good.
I don't think so. I think it's like the werewolf thing, and I think it's more like with Hagrid, they've known him longer.
Yeah, exactly.
He does say, and like maybe more maturing on Ron's part too, after
the Lupin ordeal.
Exactly, saying like, oh well, like no one who knows Hagrid would say that he's like anything, you know. But then like people who don't know him are gonna feel a certain type of way about half giants.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. So
I like that. Again, that's growth. Yeah, that is exactly growth on Ron's part. But just back to the back to Chamber before we go back into Prisoner, because there's more to talk about with Prisoner, obviously. But in Chamber, I mean, like, again, this is more for people. I mean, more for people who've only watched the movies, but there's also a subset of like the book readers as well on this part of like not understanding the Ron Hermione romance.
There's only one right answer here. Like, I agree. I can't get on board with the Hermione people.
I'm with you. But what I'm saying is that like, again, first of all, for the movie only watchers, it's way more predominant because they gave 95% of Ron's personality in the movies was just pasted and cut and pasted into Hermione. Yeah. So yeah, of course there's going to be this population of people who don't understand why Ron and Hermione would ever end up together. But it's not just like, okay, it's really painfully obvious in book 6, but it's
painful
there.
For everyone to go through that.
Oh God,
like cringe.
She's got nice skin. Anyways, my point is that in book, you see it since book 2, right? Like, and he's 12, so he doesn't have like the EQ to understand what he's going through. But like, he does not like Lockhart at all, right? Like, okay, he tries to, like, he probably thinks in his head he doesn't like Lockhart because he thinks he's a fraud, which he is, but he doesn't like Lockhart because Hermione loves him
so much.
Like, he's like, why are you outlining your schedule with all these little hearts? And then like he sends her a get well card and he's like, you sleep with this thing under your pillow. That's a whole nother inappropriate. And also like weird. It's just weird all around, but Ron is like, I don't like it. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not a fan.
Right.
And then like the whole thing with the spiders, he hates spiders so much, but like he really shows his like Gryffindor nature in that, because he's like, he looks over at like, I think they're in herbology, and he looks over at her station and he's like, she's not there, and that's really what solidifies like his
resolve.
Yeah, exactly, into like going to the forest and like talking to Aragog, and ultimately that's what. Yeah. And then there's that whole awkward scene in the movies where like she gives Harry a big hug, and then Ron just like awkwardly turtles.
But I feel like that is like people interpret that the wrong way. But they're like, oh, like, she's so comfortable with him, and I'm like,
because there's like
some weird tension there. But that's why. And it's just like,
because like she's so comfortable with Harry because there's nothing there, and you're not.
And then when you're 12, you're like, oh, like you can kind of like, you're kind of like having like crushes maybe, and you're like, oh, like I don't want everyone to think I like him, or like I think I like her, so I'm just gonna be, you know, like I'm gonna
super extra formal.
Exactly. So
it's like, oh, here's a handshake.
It's just so
old
weird.
Sport. Like okay,
so
yeah, sure.
Anyways,
but like, so like the seeds are there
from
forever.
The beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and then book 3, you know, not great for Ron.
It's fine.
He's pretty jealous and mad a lot about like broomsticks and rats. The trio as a whole is not like, they don't have their stuff together.
Well, yes, but I think it actually solidifies their friendship more. Agreed. Because like at the end of the day, like yeah, they've had this huge fight, and it's mostly between Hermione and Ron. And then Harry's kind of in the middle and having to pick sides. But I think that, you know, like even if they weren't talking, the fact that like they can put all that shit aside and then come back and like think of like work together to focus on what really matters at the end.
What, Buckbeak?
Well, not Buckbeak.
Malfoy just being like a waste of space for an entire year. Like it took you this was day 1.
You're very ineffective at
Death Eatering.
Yeah, my father will hear about this. Like, but what did your father do?
He heard about it, and then he had his boy Mulciber. Mulciber? Yes, Mulciber. And he killed a pumpkin at the end. Like, what did you accomplish? That's a whole nother rant.
But yeah, so it's just very interesting. So I think that book it's like not like tons of stuff doesn't happen for Ron, but again, like you can see his Gryffindor nature at the end when he's, you know, like has his broken leg and still wants to say that he's going to support his friend regardless.
Good moment for Ron.
But it must have been actually like quite traumatic for Ron too. Like his
leg is snapped in half, and he's like sleeping with a grown man in his bed. Ugh.
That's weird.
Hogwarts should have therapists. Do you think Madame Pomfrey doubles as a therapist?
Probably not.
She's got enough on her hands already, I suppose. Yeah. But just have one on call for Harry at the very least. I mean, a student dies like every couple of years.
Well, student or teacher.
Quarrels.
Like, you know, there's pretty traumatic things that happen. really should have
They should have a therapist on hand.
But
or a guidance counselor or somebody.
It's just a nightmare.
What am I supposed to do? Pretend I'm a Slytherin. Okay, something tremendous. My defense against the dark arts teacher just died. Okay, I'm supposed to go tell my feelings to Snape.
Yeah, that's not good.
Control your emotions. This is the in your mind. Like that. Okay, that's good advice.
Thanks, Dad.
Or like, no, maybe Cho would have had a better time in book 5 if she had somebody to talk to.
She definitely needed a therapist.
She was crying a lot in the bathrooms. Like, also Hermione, for someone with a lot of EQ, you didn't ask one time, girl, are you okay? Like, you just watched past her crying.
Friends, she probably is like, I'm not gonna ask her. She's always surrounded by girls, you know.
Well, clearly not.
I don't know, dude. Cho's got enough problems. That's a different rant.
I
feel like there's too much.
I think we have too many rants. Okay, book 4.
Book 4 is great. I think that's a great Ron book. I think there's so much growth for Ron. Like, obviously he's, struggling with Harry being a part of the tournament, but like I think quickly realizes like the error of his ways, and I think is really good. I think that's one thing Ron does really well. Like, he is able to admit when he's wrong, and he can, kind of course correct and like show up for his friends, mostly Harry. Like, I don't think he's good at apologizing to Hermione.
That's because he's terrible with Hermione.
But
he's so mean to her sometimes.
Yeah, he's such a.
Okay, now I sound like Luna.
He
can be very mean sometimes.
But he's really
says really funny things.
He's good at apologizing. Not apologizing, but he's good at like
owning his stuff.
Course correcting when it comes to Harry, I think. But I don't think he ever actually even apologizes to Harry, but Harry's like, I don't need his apology. But that's just I think like a difference between how boys process emotions and how girls process emotions.
100%.
But I think he's really good at least acknowledging that he's wrong.
Yeah.
And then I think
wrong.
I think it's really something. Like, I think the fact that like Ron is the one who gets taken to the lake.
I know.
That I feel like if that doesn't tell you
the depth of that relationship
that Ron drives for Harry, is like, I don't think what other proof people need that like Ron is such an invaluable part of like Harry's life and like what he brings to what he adds to Harry's life and like what he brings to the trio. I think like that is like the ultimate indicator.
I mean, like even at the very, very start of book 4, right? Like the start of book 4, like at the end of book 3, Ron's like, hey, like we're gonna see if we could get tickets to the World Cup, and like let's keep in mind you have 7 kids. Okay, all your kids have friends. They all have friends. The Weasleys are very popular in terms of students. Okay, fine. Bill and Charlie, like older. Okay, fine, older. Percy, older. Their friends are probably already there. Yeah. But where's Lee?
Yeah.
Lee didn't get a spare ticket.
Yeah, but I think it's
Molly
all about
stays
Harry,
home,
right?
and Hermione gets to go. Like that, exactly, right? And like Ron's whole letter is like, listen, Dad got the tickets. Like, let me know ASAP. We're gonna come.
Why they didn't just bring Molly to the game?
Like, you bought 9 tickets. You could have bought a 10th.
Why not just bring Molly? Like, what was the?
We've already added extra seats to the top box for the Bulgarians,
which they didn't need.
Which they did not need. But anyways, Ron's like, just say yes and we'll be here. And if they say no, we'll still be there anyways. So like Ron's just like, listen, it worked for me before to kidnap you. I don't really care what they say. Dad thinks it's better to pretend to ask them, which is just so Arthur. And he's just like, we're going to come and we're going to blow up someone's fireplace. And
that was part of the plan,
we're going to maybe poison someone's child. But
again, not part of the plan.
Not part of the plan, but it happens and it's great.
Things happen.
And you got to roll with the punches. And like they have such a great time, and like, and the other funny thing that comes out of the World Cup is obviously Ron's like saving his allowance for a whole year.
Yes, the crumb thing.
And so he buys this little crumb figure. And
he's
showing it off on the train.
People after book 4 even question that it's Ron and Hermione. There's like no Hermione thing. Like he adores this guy, like has this little figurine. He's like
such a crush on Crumb.
Yes. And then like he immediately hates him. Immediately. It's not even like, oh, okay, that's weird. It's like, oh, I hate this guy.
I hate this guy.
You're fraternizing with the enemy.
Hold on. He goes from, you can sleep in my bed and I will camp. If you will sleep in my bed and I can smell your hair.
Yeah. To like, he's the worst.
I don't
can't
like
believe
him.
you're talking to him.
How dare you?
Like, come on. How do people not see
it's
that that's
just so funny.
like, it's ridiculous.
It's hilarious. And then like he saved all year for these souvenirs from the World Cup, and then Harry just finds like a tiny arm broken off with a tiny Bulgarian robe on it. It's so funny. And then they're like yelling at, or like, I mean, even before that, like there's like, sorry, going back to the start of the Triwizard Tournament, and like his name gets picked out and whatever, there's all this drama, and Harry's like, would anybody other than Ron and Hermione even believe me? And it's just so sad for both of them that Ron is like
doesn't believe him,
and Harry's like, oh god, like maybe Hermione's not gonna believe me too, and like I'm already feeling all this pressure, but like I thought these are the only two people in the whole world that would have my back, and now I'm like, I don't even know if anyone will believe me. And then Hermione's like trying to like, Hermione plays therapist a lot, and she should get paid $150 an hour for this. She should have billable hours sent straight to the like Hogwarts insurance company. And she's like he's jealous of you, like he's always got all these brothers to like deal with at home, and now
it's
you're
difficult for Harry to understand that, I think.
And he's like, I didn't ask for any of this, I didn't ask to like be this famous person or have my name come out of the cup. And she's like, I get that, but like Ron has always been in your shadow or their shadow, and he's never ever said anything, but it's been 4 years, and now he's kind of tired of being like, I think in the movies they call it like, yeah, that's me, Harry Potter's stupid best friend or whatever, right? And like, it's just one time too many. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back. But
it doesn't last very long. I think
3 weeks.
Yeah, like I think
long enough for Harry to be like, I don't like being best friends with Hermione.
But I think they recover pretty quickly, because then obviously like Ron gets taken to the lake, as we said already. And then just Yule Ball, just more like Ron, Hermione, like yelling at each other. It's just so bad. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Like, I know you're 14, but like, yikes.
Yeah, it's kind of great though.
And like,
it's a good Ron Hermione moment. Like, I think they can finally start thinking about like being a little bit more honest about the feelings that they have, but probably still really not mature enough to process them. Because like, even in the 6th book, like when they're actually recognizing that they have feelings for each other, they go like immediately very toxic.
Oh, I know.
Until they're like, okay, like I think we need to figure this out, kind of thing. But like, it's very interesting to see like all the back and forth and the build up until they finally get together.
Harry's like, I think Hermione gets the point better than you did, buddy. But I like being friends with you too much, so I'm not gonna say anything. But personally, in my own head, I'm kind of on her side with this one. And then obviously we have like the second task, and then the third task. Something that I was gonna bring up was like back to the Ron really brings Harry into like the Weasley clan thing, right? Like, you have this moment where all of the families are there, and McGonagall's like, okay, like, champions, you know, your families are here to wish you good luck before the third task. And Harry's like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna like dip and like practice for a couple hours. And then Dedrick, good old Dedrick.
Too early for that.
Is it?
Way too early for that.
Anyways, good old Cedric, only early by 12 hours, if you think about it. Cedric is like, hey, they're waiting for you. And Harry's like, why would the Dursleys be here? That doesn't make any sense. And then it's Molly and Bill, and he's so happy, and he's like, oh my god, like, I thought it was gonna be. And Molly, obviously, she like purses her lips, she just like, And she's like, I'm not gonna insult them in front of you, but that
I really don't
I
like
don't
them.
I'm not a fan. And like that's his family,
Yeah.
right? Like, and without Ron, none of that exists. And then obviously you have like after he comes back from the graveyard, you have like that scene where like Molly's the one hugging him as he goes to sleep,
Yeah.
and he's like crying and whatever.
Yeah. And that's so important because
yeah.
I think that's like has
like-
one of the most important lines
Yeah.
in the book, because he's like, he doesn't remember being hugged by somebody like a mother.
Yeah.
And so like without Ron, none of that
None of that happens.
is available to
Yeah.
Harry. And so like stuff like that, I think like, yeah, you can say that like, well, that's not Ron. I'm like, well, yeah, it is Ron though, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's not for Ron, he doesn't have access to that. And so,
Yeah.
and for him, it's such an important thing. And I think it helps him to understand that, like, as much as you can say like about like, oh, Lily's sacrifice is what protects him,
But it's
whatever,
mother's
but
love
it's-
throughout the whole
exactly,
saga.
because
Yeah.
it's like he doesn't really know about a mother's love. Like if Lily sacrifices herself and he doesn't have someone like Molly, he can have that theoretically, but like there's no practical application of that, or like feeling what that love could look
Yeah.
like without Molly. And Molly doesn't exist in Harry's life without Ron.
We're just gonna get PTSD, Harry. It's just, again, they need a therapist at this school.
Yeah, but like I feel like normal therapists aren't gonna be trained to like help Harry. Like I feel like that's like
No, okay, but they would help Cho.
Yeah, well,
Okay, her boyfriend just died, and now she wants to date the
that's
other.
not normal.
Okay, but like grief counseling, no.
Yeah, grief. Okay, whatever.
Okay, my point, I go back to go find a therapist, because just Harry, this entire book is
Yeah,
just
it's
mad, PTSD, angsty, depresso Harry.
But I think that like Ron's role in this book is not to not to try and fix it, whereas like I think Hermione really tries to like
Fix
get him
it,
to
yeah.
talk and fix and things like that. And
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
that's a through
like,
line.
that doesn't really work.
No.
And I think with Ron, it's more just again like presence is really important. You know, and I think like Harry at the beginning of the summer like feels pretty betrayed because he doesn't hear
Yeah.
from them again. And
He's
so
like,
it's-
oh, they're just hanging
like
out
that.
without me.
yeah, and so I think
Real
there's
book
a
2
lot-
callback.
right? And so there's a lot of resentment on Harry's side, which is not really something that Ron can help him
Yeah.
with. And I think there are some like in the summer, especially like I think there's some learning for Harry as he figures out like how he like what he values,
Yeah.
because like there's like some of that jealousy when Ron gets
Oh, the
prefect.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good learning moment for Harry. And again, like some of these lessons are not possible if Ron is not in Harry's life. And again, it goes back to it's the same. It's like throughout this book too. It's more like how like Ron's presence in Harry's life and his family's presence is what helps Harry define who he is and who he loves, because like how it's really
It's Ron
scary
and
for
Hermione's
him.
face that he sees at the Dementors.
Exactly,
right?
but also like at Christmas, he's like genuinely so scared that like
Pseudo
Arthur's
father
gonna,
figure, yeah.
Arthur's gonna die or is dead, and so he really feels it, and so I think it's very important for Harry's growth, and I think again like goes back to what we said earlier, is that none of that is like accessible to Harry without Ron's presence. So again, just goes back to show that it's like his intangible presence is what drives the value.
No, and I think Order is actually a really strong year for Ron, because like obviously you have like he gets appointed as the prefect, which means that like, and again presumably it's unclear because it seems like at the end of book 5 Dumbledore's like, why didn't I choose you to be prefect?
But I feel like that's kind of a bad take though, to be honest.
Well, but then it's like, is it Dumbledore or is it the head of house? Because it's unclear. But like, anyways,
I think it's
either way, whether it's McGonagall or Dumbledore, right? Like it shows something real in Ron's character that he deserves this, and like immediately, like he shows Harry the badge because he's like, I want your approval and your blessing. And then he obviously has that really bad moment of like he picks it up and like Hermione walks in and like Ron gets like yeah, it's mine. Like, what do you mean? He's like very defensive about it. And I think like there's that like that always that tone of surprise that line just always
I love that line.
like really just always like harkens back to these two. And then like he obviously has to check himself and he gets that broomstick, and then you get to Hogwarts, and like obviously his first entire week he's like, you know, he had a lot of detention. All of the first week of book 5 and the first weekend in book 6 gets a detention, Harry.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, so like after the detention with Dolores, like he's like scratching his nose or whatever, and like Ron's there, and like Ron's like, I might sign up for Quidditch. I might try out, and
that's a really good moment.
That's a really good moment for the two of their friendship, because Harry's like, I've never seen you play keeper, like, are you good? That would be so cool. And then he's like, and then he was gonna lie, but then Ron had shared something that was so personal to him, and like that bonds them even more. And like again, it just speaks back to like how much trust that they have in each other, and like I mean, Ron, from a Quidditch standpoint, like Ron, he just has so much faith in his friends that like obviously he doesn't start off that strong, but then obviously he becomes like whatever, the king. Which first of all, Draco's commitment to get 25%.
It's most of what Draco does.
Yes, it's like every book he has like one mission.
Except for books,
And book 3, he's like, I want to kill this bird / horse. And it's going to take me a year to do it. I'm going to have to go through the judiciary. I'm not going to succeed. But that's my mission. Book 4, it's he's got these badges, which he somehow convinces everyone to wear.
Potter stinks.
And like that's a lot of time and energy and material, like a lot of cogs.
Yeah.
You know? And then in book 5, he writes a whole song pre-AI. Okay. He has to make it rhyme. He has to edit. He has to teach everybody. Then he has to convince Pansy to be the orchestra or the conductor.
Yeah.
Like he puts in a lot of effort into this.
It's most of what he does.
But he's still the best in his grade next to Hermione.
He's a smart kid, man. He just needs to apply himself.
But if he spent 5% less time on his passion projects, and like
you gotta have hobbies.
Okay,
you gotta have
button
hobbies.
Making. I stand corrected. Buttons are cool. Anyways, my point is that like obviously he does, and then like the one Quidditch match where he like misses the first goal and then just kills it the whole rest of the game.
Can't get any worse.
The two people that he just wants to like be there and cheer him on are not there.
Yeah.
And like there's that scene where he seemed to deflate, and even his hair seemed to like. And it's just so sad. And then like he like immediately gets over it because he's like, Hagrid is being insane. Crazy. So like he doesn't even hold it against them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's different, but anyways, I think that's good. And I don't know. And book 6, I feel like there's just a lot of raging hormones.
Yeah.
It's like it's also
actually hold on. There's one more thing with book 5. When after spoilers, Sirius dies. They come back and Hermione keeps wanting to talk about Sirius with Harry, and Ron is like, he kept shushing her because he's like, I know my best friend and this is not what he needs. Yeah. We're going to be there for when he needs us, but you are not helping the situation at all right now.
I also don't think he ever really processes it. To be fair, but like anyways, that's more of a Harry.
Do you think that if he had never seen if he had never seen Cedric die, and the first death he quote unquote witnessed was Sirius going through the veil, he would still be able to see Thestrals?
Yeah.
But like you think so? Because it's not a clear death.
I don't think it's, again, like, I think it's not really about death. I think it's about, like, the trauma behind the death. Because I think, like, he doesn't, like, he obviously saw, even if he
saw his parents die,
at least Lily
processed.
Yeah. So, anyways, I feel like that's a rabbit hole we can go down later.
Yeah. That's a whole other...
I agree. Like, I think, again, like, it goes back to, like, how well Ron knows Harry and, like, understands what he needs.
Yeah.
So I think it just goes back to the same thing that we've said.
Yeah. Honestly, though, Department of Mysteries, Ron, Brain Room, Planet Room, just little drunk Ron tottering around Department of Mysteries, hilarious.
Yeah, it's great.
The Accio brain thing is
it's all.
We're gonna come back to the brains.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then book 6 is, yes, to your point, just a bunch of 16-year-olds that need
It's
to learn.
hilarious.
It's so funny. There was back in the day, like someone had put it on YouTube. They had like recut Half-Blood Prince the movie into a teenage rom-com.
I love that.
And it was hilarious.
I love that.
was
That's
so
so
good.
funny. Like, honestly, all of it. Like, Lav, freaking necklace.
What?
It's just great. And then when he almost dies.
Which time? Oh, Ron. Yeah, sorry. I thought you meant Harry.
Like, this isn't really shown in the books, but I love that they added that scene in the movies where,
With
like,
the moon?
No, not with the moon. Like when where Hermione's sitting by his bedside, and then Lavender walks in, and he's like, "No one told me he was here. I'm his girlfriend." And
It's so good.
just like
that is one addition I do not have any problems
I
with.
suppose you like him now that he's
So
interesting. He's been posing, you dumb Dimbo. Like, that is amazing.
It's so
Like,
good.
It doesn't play out in the books the same way, but I
So
love
good.
that addition. I think it's great. I
And
think it
Dumbledore and Snape just watching in the corner.
So what is happening here?
Snape is like, can I go? Poisoning is done.
Like, I fixed it.
I
you
fixed
know?
it.
So no, it's great. I think it's really good, but I think at that point, like, if you're still unsure, guys, this is not
Writing is on the wall in Rooster Blood.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So it's just like it's a different like side of Ron that we get to build out and like have a little bit of fun with.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's hilarious because like he's back on the team. He's doing well. Actually, no. Even before that, right? Like they host tryouts, and Cormac is trying out.
But that's what I mean. Like,
and
she has feelings.
She's like,
sure
I hate this guy so much. He's insulting Ron,
And Harry clocks it.
Yeah, and he's like, something weird happened.
Couldn't find anyone lately.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, Harry's like, listen, I love the fact that like Ron and I are on the team again, but like you cheated. Like, that's your ethics, and you are better than us, okay? For all your talk 2 years ago about that's the problem about Quidditch, like it causes all this animosity. And Harry's like, you might understand girls, but you don't understand Quidditch. So like, for all your talk, Hermione, you don't know anything.
Anyway, so it's great. Like that's a great Hermione
scene.
and Ron. It's a great Ron and Hermione.
Yeah.
And then you have it's like you know what it's building towards.
Yeah.
But it's a
so
really great build up, and I love it.
And then you have the whole like slug club thing where like you have his best friend, the girl he likes, and his younger sister all getting invited to this one thing. And he's like, are you kidding? This is everyone I hang out with.
I know.
Now I have to play by myself in the corner.
This is, I kind of get that.
Good Harry friend.
Harry's a good friend.
Yeah, he's like,
keep scheduling practice.
Yes. He's like, and ultimately that backfires on him because he's like, when I need to be at the party, there's no party.
Yeah.
For the memory. But in the interim, he's like, yeah, we're just gonna laugh at Hermione's being stuck in the slug club with Cormac. But that could have really backfired because what if they spend a bunch of time with Cormac? She's like, oh, okay, he seems like a douche, but it's not so that bad. They could have
project that I can work on.
Exactly. She's working on a project anyways. But like that could have really backfired.
That could have. It could have backfired if she didn't already have feelings for Ron.
Yes, exactly. And then she's like, oh, we're allowed to bring guests to this Christmas thing, but if you think it's so stupid, I won't bother asking you. And he's like, oh, you're gonna ask me out? And then Ron's like, or Harry's like, he purposefully locks his bowl, and he's like, oh God, please let this conversation be over. I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah. And that's like a good moment
Yes.
where he's like, oh, like he should have seen this.
Yes, and he's like, what if they became like Bill and Fleur, and then I'm just like, I have no one to hang out with. But like that's what happens anyways.
That doesn't really happen.
No, but they end up they all couple up.
Yeah,
so it's fine.
Yes, but like I don't.
If anything, he's the one Bill and Fleuring it up with Ginny all over the grounds.
Correct.
Ron has to deal with that.
Yeah, I think the only time that like Ron and Hermione are really in his face is like that one time when they're basically all gonna die.
Oh yeah,
seventh
yeah.
It's not a big deal.
It's really they're quite PG. Well, I mean, it was a PG written story for a reason. But
There's no Zayden scenes in here.
There's a what?
Zayden scenes in
Oh no, that's a different podcast. You gotta get to Akatar. Then we'll talk.
Working my way through the books.
Yeah, you think Zayden scenes. You just wait. You got 5 more books ahead of you after these 2. That's another yeah. What was I talking about? I was talking about the Christmas party. With Cormac. Yeah, and then obviously like the Quidditch scene happens, and then he like walks in on Ginny and Dean making out, and then like Harry's like having his own like internal battle about Ginny, and he's like, she's your best friend's sister. What if I don't care? He's your best friend. And then that's when Ginny accidentally throws Hermione under the bus about something from 3 years ago where she made out with Victor.
Yeah.
And then that's when the whole Christmas party blows up. And that's when he's like, oh, here's another human female who is interested in me, aka Lav. And he's like, okay, well.
Yeah, it's not the best moment for Ron.
No.
But at the end of the day, like, he's silly if he doesn't realize that, like, I mean, Hermione and Victor were a thing. Like, they went to the freaking ball together.
Yeah.
He's an international Quidditch player. I get she's not a Quidditch girl, but, like,
Come on. Like, you don't know soccer if Messi walks up to you and he's like, hey, I want to kiss you. Like, you're not going to say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, but he does figure it out. And not just everyone around them figures it out, okay? Because to your point, after the poisoning,
yeah,
Fred and George are like by his bedside on his birthday. Because that's when that's when this happens, obviously. Yeah. And they
put him a second gift.
Yeah, they're like, okay, this is painful for us to watch, and they give him this book, whatever, 12 fail-safe ways to charm witches.
It's not all about one word, you know.
It's God. I think, anyways, my point is that not only does he read the book, but he incorporates what he learned in the book, because you see that all through book 7.
Correct.
And then, yeah, like, then obviously we skip forward into Deathly Hallows, into the summer, right after the Battle of the Seven Potters. You've got Harry's birthday party, and Hermione's doing all the decoration with, like, turning the leaves golden and the streamers and whatnot. And he's like, oh, you've got such an eye for this. And Harry's like, he turns away laughing. He makes like awkward eye contact with Ginny, and they're just both like, oh my God,
this is so
thank
funny.
God, we're finally like making real progress here. And then you have the scene with the wedding, and he's like, wow,
let's dance.
Yeah, no, but before that, he's like, oh, you look so nice. Yeah. And she's like,
always the tone of surprise.
Yeah, and then she's like, Muriel doesn't agree. She thinks I have chicken ankles.
Whatever. Ankles.
And then he asked her to dance, which is hilarious.
Because Crumb is right there.
Because Crumb is right there. And like 3 years ago, she's like, ask me to dance before someone else does. And he's like, good. I'm seeing the writing on the wall, and I'm doing the math, and I'm going to ask
now.
Yes. He's like, okay, lesson has been learned. I am implementing the things.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And then obviously, I mean, and the movie says a great scene where Ron's like, leave Hermione, we wouldn't last 2 days without her. Yeah. Don't tell her I said that.
But it's all like great. I think it like finally builds up to where like they're actually being like honest about their feelings. So it's really, it's good to see it play out.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, book 7, obviously Ron like leaves.
But that's not what defines the story.
No, the fact that he comes back, I think, is the more important thing. Right? And like, even at the Burrow, before they've left, Scrimgeour says something rude, and he like points his wand at Harry's chest and singes a hole in his shirt. And Ron is the one who's about to like straight up curse him, and Harry's like,
whoa,
chill.
Do you want to get arrested? Yeah, like, exactly.
And he's the one who's like has to like tell him, no, I appreciate this, but no.
Yeah.
And then like obviously like you have this whole scene where like we'll get into the camping nature later because I can't. But you know, like they get in this big fight while they're camping. You know, they could have just summoned fish and then just like
cooked it.
Been fine. And also they don't ever do that thing ever again.
Even after. Anyways,
whatever.
That's besides the point.
But so they're leaving, and in the movies,
right,
Ron's like, "Oh yeah, I'm still here in case you forgot about me, whatever."
Yeah.
But like, so obviously they have this big fight, and then he leaves, and like immediately his loss is very known because Harry's like, "There's no way he's ever gonna come back because." Like, we've got such strong protection barriers around us. Even if he were gonna try, he would never find us. So, like, I guess this is just the end of our friendship, and I might die at the end of this, and my best friend just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right? And then, like, I think the bond between them is so strong, and I think Albus knew that the entire time. That's why he gave him the Deluminator of, like, even if something were to, like,
you'll always be able to find
always
your way
come back
to Harry because like, and like maybe he didn't necessarily think that like
Ron was walk out.
Ron was gonna walk out, but it's more just like if you ever need to find your way back to this person or you know whoever is
to your
like
cores.
Exactly. So I think it's more about him recognizing that.
And I think, like, then he comes back, obviously, and he saves him. And there's that whole scene with the locket and the sword. And, like, I think Voldemort, Harry, really, really got to the crux of a lot of his insecurities of, like... But, like, that's what I think the Horcrux is meant to do. Of, like, really just taking it your worst.
But I think that shows, like, how...
But he gets over it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That shows, like, Ron... ability to get over things like that and his ability to just be like that true Gryffindor nature, and I think it really comes out.
True daring, nerve, and chivalry set Gryffindors apart. 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
And like beyond that, like obviously him and Hermione get into a whole thing, and it takes him a while to like thaw her back up. Because I think they had made a lot of progress into like because they had that scene in the Grimmauld place where they were like falling asleep holding hands and whatever.
I think it
takes her longer to forgive him.
Yeah, because I think it's different. Like I think the relationship is different. Like I think the expectations are different.
100%.
I think she feels very betrayed, and I think he said he had said a lot of things to her, and like I can understand how why it would take her a longer time to get over it.
Totally. And then then we move forward, and then the really interesting thing that happens to Ron with his like character growth in book 7 is like Harry becomes so obsessed with the Deathly Hallows, right? Because he's like this is what it's going to be. It's going to be Hallows versus Horcrux. Yes, exactly. He forgets the mission. And, like, Dumbledore says that to him at King's Cross of, like, I didn't want you to get ahead of your skis, basically. And he gets so lost in all of this. And, like, it manifests in a bunch of different ways where he's, like, doesn't really care about stuff. His visions and his connection to Voldemort gets weaker. And obviously, it's not something that we want to be a strong connection, but it's an important tool in his arsenal.
And he doesn't snap out of it until after Malfoy.
Exactly.
Manor, and like that's where you see Ron's real strength.
But just before Malfoy Manor, right? Like Harry is like very listless, right? Yeah. But even in his that like stupor or whatever, he notices that Ron is the one who's like taking that strategist role, taking the lead, and like really stepping up to the plate of like, let's go here, let's go there, let's try this, let's try that, and like figuring out like what is the next step
and mission.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously like you have like the whole Potter Watch thing, and you get to Malfoy Manor, and then this is the one thing. Well, there's many one things, but this scene in particular in the movies really bugs me because you don't get the same emotional depth out of Ron when Hermione's being tortured in the movies that you see in the books.
Yeah.
It's like Ron's soul is on fire in the books. He cannot handle it. He's like, take me instead, leave her alone.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. I think, again, like, because they have to do so much in such a short time, I don't feel like it does a lot of justice. Yeah. So hopefully some of that stuff gets resolved when we see I really hope so,
because it's so important, I think, to show that. And, like, in the books, they didn't have Bellatrix carving the word mudblood into her arm, but I love that addition. Because then what happens is then the three of them all have the scars on their arms. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And like, we didn't talk about this earlier, but like on book 6, when Hermione's all like, Harry's like, oh, why are so many people trying out for Quidditch? Yeah. And Hermione's like, it's not Quidditch that's popular, it's you. You've never been more fanciable. And Ron's like, huh? Excuse you? And she's like, you're tall. He's like, I'm tall. And he's like, and you can still see those scars from Umbridge. And poor Ron's like, you can see the scars from the brain. Did you see that? Did you see that, Hermione? Yeah. And so, like, I kind of love that funny. Because then all three of them have the scars on their arms to, like, bind. I mean, like, as if they needed more reasons to bind them together. They need more
bonding. But they have enough trauma.
Yes, but I just, it's an addition that I did like from the movies. Yeah, and then obviously, like, they go back to Shell Cottage, and then they have that whole scene with, like, figuring out the Horcruxes and whatnot. Then they are finally able to go into the battle.
Right.
And Ron's the one who figures it out of, like, we need to get into the Chamber of Secrets again. Correct. And somehow is able to what? For a non-Parseltongue is able to figure out how to open the chamber. And like this is something I think that has rubbed off from Harry onto Ron, of like Harry has really good instincts that Dumbledore taught him on, like, things should be done in a certain way because of certain reasons. And I think Ron, like, through osmosis, picks up on some of that and, like, understands Hermione needs to be the one to get rid of this for whatever XYZ reason. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. And I think it just kind of captures some of the growth that you see in Ron.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like, it just, all of this stuff goes back to how he's sort of a character that you can't, like, that Harry cannot succeed without. And, you know, just like that everlasting presence of him is what drives Harry to be successful in his, like, ultimate mission, and teaches Harry a lot of intangible things that you can't pinpoint necessarily.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's said verbatim, you know, like there was a lot less laughter and a lot less fun when Hermione was your best friend, right? And I think it matters a lot because those are the lessons that you take from not just Dumbledore, but from the whole series of, like, love and laughter and children's tales and whatever, those are the things that really stick with you, and those are the things that really fight against sometimes a world that can feel quite there's a lot going on in the world, obviously, right? But, like, those are things that help stave off some of those things.
Yep, I agree. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Witch Weekly editorial. Thanks for spending time with us, and we'll be back soon with more insights from the wondrous world of Harry Potter.
Keep twiddling those dials. See you next time.